Welcome everyone to 3 Minute Thesis, or 3MT Strikes Back. As you know, I'd like to give a big welcome to our judges today, our studio audience, and of course everyone who's watching us on the internet today. It's been 2 years, can you believe it? 2 years since we've had an in-person contest. We've tried some other activities in online submissions of videos, but this is the first time we could have a proper 3MT contest. I'm really excited that you're here. I'm also very excited that we're not on Zoom. Well, you may be watching us on some digital platform, but we are actually doing this live to a studio audience. I can wear pants, which is fun. You know, I haven't done that for a while, so this is great to be live and with people for a long time. I'm Dr. Michael Eamon. I'm the principal here at Catherine Parr Trail College and will be the MC for today's event. But before we begin, I just want to say how very happy I am to be here, how very thankful I am to be here, and I would like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional and treaty territory at the Michisaukee-Anishinaabe, and it means so much that we're in this space here in downtown Peterborough, and I want to thank the Anishinaabe for their teachings and what we can learn from traditional knowledge. And more importantly, in our position we are right here, we're very close to the Grand Portage. That is the portage that went from all the way from Chemong Lake down to Little Lake for time out of memory. And the Anishinaabe and their ancestors traversed that portage, and that portage just hooked around where Trail College is right now. And for, as I said, time out of memory, there was the exchange of commodities and ideas. And it means so much to me that we're on this sacred space where we can exchange ideas today. Trail College, by the way, is where Trent University started over almost 60 years ago. Almost 60 years ago, Trail College was a space for women. Some people may not know this, but Trail was Trent University's women's-only college. Now that was done on purpose, not to isolate women from the university, but in fact to bring them in. In the 1960s, there's a lot of issues swirling around, but one of the big issues was women were not going into higher education. And so creating a college just for women created a safe space, a space of empowerment, a space where women could go into university and flourish. Now, in the 1970s, it became fully co-ed, and that's where we are today, but at its heart, I think, is a feminist soul, and more importantly, it's a soul of empowerment and of a safe space where people can talk about the issues of the day. And today, there's going to be a lot of great talk about graduate research here at Trent University. 3 Minute Thesis is a skills development activity which challenges graduate students to explain their research to a non-specialist audience in just 3 minutes. So it started in Australia. Well, maybe we'll show some slides here. Oh, there we are. You may know that kangaroos. When you think of Australia, what do you think? You think of kangaroos. What else do you think of? Koala bears, cuddly things. And what else do you think of? Beer. That's right. You think of beer, koalas, and kangaroos. But you know, all those things are part of the stereotype, but Australia has so much more to offer. It has offered so much, and it has given us 3MT. Whoop, if you want to click on the next slide. Okay. At the University of Queensland, in fact. The University of Queensland is a lot like Trent. Well, it's a lot bigger than Trent, but it is a collegiate university. That is to say, there are several university colleges that comprise the larger University of Queensland. And it was in 2008 that the idea of 3MT came to fruition. And now it has taken like wildfire across Australia, but across the world. And at Trent, we've been doing 3MT for over a decade, and it has been an exciting part of graduate studies. And particularly, we're very grateful for the Academic Skills Center and the people there who have brought us 3MT for all these years, and we're so excited to be back this year. 3MT competitions are held not only in Australia, but, as I said, across the world, and right here in Canada, we have provincial finals. And so the winners of today's competition will go to our provincial finals in May in Guelph, Ontario. So it's quite exciting that we're back, we're ready to go, we're ready to compete. So I'm looking at a very nervous, but I think excited round of, we have 8 competitors today, so this is really exciting. But wait 1 second, folks. By law, I have to give you the rules. So, rule number 1, and for our audience at home too. One PowerPoint slide is permitted. This goes way back to 2008. There are very strict rules of how this communication shall happen in 3 minutes, and one of the most important one is one PowerPoint slide. No additional media, electronic media is permitted. No additional props are permitted. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes maximum, and competitors, then this is the sad part, if you exceed 3 minutes, you are disqualified. Presentations are to be spoken word, so no singing, no dancing, no things like that. I'm sorry, folks, we'll do that in another type of presentation. We'll figure out another competition for singing and dancing, but today, spoken word only. And most importantly, or very importantly, no notes are permitted. So this is all done extemporaneously. Those are the rules. And now for our judges, we have very important judging criteria. There's 3 key criteria. 1, communication style. Was the thesis topic and its significance communicated in language appropriate to an intelligent but non-specialist audience? Number 2, comprehension. Did the presentation help the audience understand the research? And number 3, engagement. Did the oration make the audience want to know more? These are 3 key elements for 3 minutes, and this is what sets apart the winners. But before we talk about who's going to win, who's going to lose, and who's going to compete, let's talk about our prestigious judging panel. 3MT has had a long tradition of having important members of our community, pillars of arts, culture, business, humanities, science, all offer their time to be part of our judging panel. And this year, I'm proud to say it's no different. So first of all, I'd like to introduce our first judge, Sid Burrell. Sid Burrell is the founder and conductor of the Peterborough Singers, one of Canada's top-ranked choral societies. The life of Sid is a coat of many colors. He was born in Sarnia, Ontario, and began his musical career as a chorister at St. George's Anglican Church. He studied at the Royal School of Church Music in London, in England, and the Royal College of Music, and he won a Sawyer Prize in organ performance. He's an organist, he's a singer, he's all these things all wrapped up into one, and an all-around good guy, if you know Sid. Sid and his wife, Pamela, herself a cancer survivor, launched the James Fund for neuroblastoma research at Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto, while their young son, James, was still fighting cancer. Since James's death, the James Fund has raised over $6 million and become a major force in the search for a cure for childhood cancer, neuroblastoma, in a great part due to the drive and commitment that Sid pours into the fund. It is an ongoing testament to the courageous life of his son. Sid is the author of the book, You Can't Let Cancer Ruin Your Day. And if you haven't read it, it is a compelling and compassionate read. And I think would suggest you all read the story of James and Sid and his family. Sid and Pam continue their adventures in living with their surviving children, Rebecca and Ben. So let's put our hands together for Sid Burrell. Dr. Gregory Couch was our second judge for today, but unfortunately he couldn't make it. So at the last minute, we have the wonderfully talented, smart, and incredible Glenys Burns as our substitute judge. Glenys Burns is our AVP Associate Vice President of International and Career Space here at Trent University. She comes to us from Laurier University, where she had many, many hats. She was the registrar, she was the director of recruitment and admissions, and she also was director of the international program there. We are so happy to have Glenys. She's a great colleague, and thank you so much for coming at the last minute. Let's put your hands together for Glenys Burns. And last but not least, we have Sasha Younger. Sasha is partner and VP of People and Technology at Outpost 379, one of the country's most accomplished and respected independent advertising agencies. Sasha draws from more than 30 years of experience in healthcare and digital advertising. As an agency partner and member of the senior leadership team, Sasha is a key contributor in helping shape agency strategy, talent integration, and organizational culture. Sasha serves on the board of directors of the Downtown Business Improvement Area and is the chair of the DBIA Marketing Committee and often volunteers for the Peterborough Humane Society, fostering orphaned animals. Where's Sasha? There's another connection we'll be making in a bit about fostering and helping orphaned animals, but that will come later. Born in Jamaica, Sasha has also called Indiana and Kitchener-Waterloo home. In the summer, you may find her paddleboarding amongst the beautiful shores of Chemung Lake. So please put your hands together and welcome Sasha. We have a great studio audience here, as you can hear, audience at home, wonderful people here. We have a full, almost packed Banyani Hall, which is exciting to have. And as important as our judges are, and they're very important, thank you very much for being here, let's talk money, because I think that's one of the reasons why our competitors are here. So let's talk about the cash. Today, this year's prizes for 2022 include the top prize. First prize, $500 and all expenses paid to Guelph, Ontario. Yes, you heard that right. $500 and all expenses paid to Guelph, Ontario. The School of Graduate Studies prize. Let's hear it for the School of Graduate Studies. The second place prize, also worth $500, is the Catherine Parr Trail College Prize. We are the graduate college here at Trent University, and we like to support graduate research in all of its forms, and so we're very happy to be able to provide that prize. Here's to Catherine Parr Trail. And finally, the Trent Graduate Student Association Prize, also worth $500, presented to us from our past president today, and we will be introducing our award, our presenters later. But thank you so much to the Graduate Student Association. They're here for you guys. They're here for grad students. They're your advocates. They lobby on your behalf, and they provide lots of great services for grad students at Trent University. So let's hear it for the TGSA and their prize. Okay, now, it's time for the presentations. That's what the slide tells me. So I think we're about to start the big deal. And so, are we ready, competitors? Are we ready to go? Take a deep breath. It's going to be great. Don't worry. Are we ready, Dr. Beckwith, with the mic? We all have it sanitized for COVID protocols. Excellent. I'd like to introduce the first contestant. Rebecca Prashad in Environmental and Life Sciences. Please come up. Yes, and Rebecca today will be talking about her research in the presentation, The Love Story Between the Flyer, the Fungi, and the Forest. Rebecca.
I want you to picture your favorite love triangle, where usually a main character is caught between two love interests. What if I told you there is a real-life love triangle that exists under our feet, and that our protagonist of this love story is a flying squirrel who is caught in a complex web of relationships? This love story first starts off with the flying squirrel who is codependent on her favorite type of food, fungi. Flying squirrels heavily depend on mushrooms and truffles for food. Because of this, they have a very important role in the forest to spread spores. And this is especially important for truffle spores that grow underground. Ultimately, they both rely on each other for survival. What I didn't tell you yet is that these truffle spores germinate underground, and they connect to the underground network of mycelium, which is just another word for hypha. Now, this is where trees comes into this relationship and forms a marriage with the mycelium. You see, as part of this marriage contract, mycelium reaches into the soil and provides nutrients to the trees. And the trees, in return, provide sugars to the mycelium. Now, for the last part of this love triangle, the flying squirrel eventually develops this slow, stable, long-term relationship with the trees. Over time, by spreading fungal spores, flying squirrels can help fuel tree growth, because of this marriage between the mycelium and the trees. Now, at this point, you might be thinking, why do these relationships even matter? Well, for starters, our protagonist, the flying squirrel, without the flying squirrel in a forest, fungal spores wouldn't be able to disperse. And without the marriage between the mycelium and the trees would struggle to grow and would have a harder time obtaining nutrients from the soil. So this is where I come in. For my master's research, I study the diet of flying squirrels. And specifically, I look at their fecal pellets to understand what type of fungi they're eating and why. And ultimately, little is known about the complexity of these interactions. All of these relationships are part of this very important love triangle, a perfect union of a three-way hidden relationship that exists underground that we will never be able to see. For my master's research, thank you.
Thank you. If you just want to stay up here for a moment, please. Thank you so much. I just want to say how great that was. This is hard, folks. You made it look easy, but this is really difficult. So we're going to give the judges a few moments to tabulate their scores, and I just wanted to ask you a couple questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so it says here that you love birding. Now, you talked about squirrels, but you love birding, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you like camping and risk. It also says you like camping, canoeing, and risk-taking.
Yes.
And we asked everyone to provide a fun fact. And so camping, canoeing, risk-taking, but you also said that you went 23 days without having a shower once. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
And who exactly was at risk at that point? Was the risk? Were the people around you kind of? It was a risky business, or why did you go to? What?
Right.
Yeah,
right,
23.
the story.
Yeah.
So basically, I was volunteering on this field camp of working with birds, and there was no running water or anything. Right. So I had to just not shower for 23 days. Yeah.
Great. The sacrifices our students make for science.
Yeah.
Let's put your hands together for Rebecca, everyone. How are we doing, judges? How are we doing with the mic? We're all cleaned up? Okay, perfect. Well, now it is my pleasure to invite up Samal Iftikhar, who's in education. Samal, come on up, please. And Samal today will be talking about The Lie We Tell, educational barriers of refugee students in Canada. Samal.
The picture behind me tells the story of a Canada where refugees are accepted unconditionally. This is, however, not the case. As a child who immigrated to Canada at a young age, I experienced various challenges and barriers in the Canadian education system. From speaking another language to assimilating into another culture, I endured what many refugees also experience when they resettle into another country, which is having to fit into the norms of Western schools and cultures. This leads us to question what these norms are and what consequences they have for refugee students. I have used disability critical race theory in my own thesis, and this has shown us that refugees are expected to assimilate into the dominant Western culture, its language, and its values. Literature in the area has also illuminated the ways in which refugees are compared to and against the norms and desires of what is considered acceptable and what's considered smart in dominant Western society. Research also shows us that refugees are tested in English soon after beginning school in Canada and are often identified with having a learning disability soon after, even though they're unable to comprehend the language they're being tested in. As such, refugees are othered in Western schools, and their various ways of understanding knowledge and their skills are not considered smart compared to a Western society considers to be normal. My research is therefore focused on the educational experiences of refugee students in the Canadian education system, specifically in Ontario, to address these issues I just mentioned. Using a qualitative lens, I hope to highlight the voices of refugee students and share how we can create more supportive environments for them in schools based off what they find helpful in the interviews I'm conducting. Refugees deserve an unbiased and supportive school environment, and this is important now more than ever, given the influx of refugees that have and will continue to come into Canada. Since 2019, over 60,000 refugees have been resettled into Canada, and this number is only expected to increase in the years ahead, given the events we know to be occurring in places such as Afghanistan, Syria, and most recently, the Ukraine. Refugees already face tremendous barriers and challenges when they resettle into another country. Their education should not be a further barrier to their success. As I continue to interview participants, I hope to highlight the experiences of refugee students, and by doing so, recommend how we can create a more equitable and supportive learning environment for them where they succeed. And by doing so, I hope that that means one day this picture behind me can ring true.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. That's great. I have some things I found. Your fun fact, you said you go for walks for coffee.
I do.
Where's your favorite coffee spot?
Cork and Bean.
Oh, that is a good spot for coffee.
Downtown.
Yes. No, that's good. And I like the desserts there. That's
So good.
Yeah,
yes.
and when it was Natash, that was good too. And they had and they still have some of those, Portuguese type of things. And another fun fact you said is that you just learned to swim. Is that true?
So I kind of learned how to swim.
Okay.
Stage 1.
Okay.
I can float on a noodle.
That's good. That's
a big accomplishment.
Noodle floating. That is good. So you learned. You wanted to learn. You didn't fall into the water and then you learned to.
Yes.
This is.
So I can survive now.
That's good. Well, it's always good. No, swimming's tough, right? And I never really learned to swim well. I just sort of float. So I appreciate someone who's
We're
really.
almost the same.
We're almost the same. So we'll go for a coffee and talk about that. But Samal, thank you so much. And I just want to say to everyone, this just shows you the breadth, and our first two contestants, the breadth of research here and the importance of the type of research that happens. So thank you for what you do. Okay. Let's put your hands together. Next, I'd like to introduce Eric Samtoben up, who's studying health psychology. It's good to see you, Eric. And he will be talking today about ultramarathons. What are they? And how can I get better at them? Eric.
All right, so I want everyone to imagine, or ask everyone a question. Have you ever imagined running 100 kilometers all at once before? Well, as crazy as this seems, events such as these are growing in popularity and in fact surged in popularity over the past 10 years. Now, an ultramarathon is any race that is longer than 42.2 kilometers, a standard marathon distance. The goal of my research was to understand how psychology can help make us better at these. And I came across a concept called tripartite emotional intelligence. Now, this essentially refers to our responses to emotional information, and it can be broken into 3 areas: knowledge, ability, and trait. Now, knowledge refers to what we know about our emotions, how to handle them, why we experience them, and also other people's emotions. Ability refers to our ability at managing our emotions in real time, because as we all know, there's often discrepancies between what we know we should do and what we actually do. And now trait refers to our habitual manner of responding to emotional stimuli. Now, what I found was that runners who have higher levels of emotional intelligence tend to run more kilometers per week, which then leads to a better 100-kilometer personal best time. Now, to give you an example of what this looks like in real life, this would be I want you to imagine you're training for a race, let's say an ultramarathon. You've taken the leap and you're running, you're in great shape, you're super excited, but oh no, you pull your calf on your run. Anyone's going to experience frustration in that situation if you've committed a large amount of time to this goal. However, the more emotionally intelligent runner is going to reappraise this event and find a way to cross-train around it, say ride the bike, go on the rower, So when they return to training, they'll be in better shape and able to run more, which then leads to a better 100-kilometer personal best. Whereas the runner with less emotional intelligence will give in to their frustration and most likely stop training until their calf is better and lose fitness, resulting in more to gain when you get back. Now, the great thing about these sorts of skills are this can be applied to almost any pursuit of a goal, right? If you're pursuing a degree, for example, you're going to face setbacks. You can either give in to your frustration or you can positively reappraise the event to continue. So anyways, thank you for the time. That's the end.
All right. Thank you, Eric. That's great. Thank you so much. It's good to see you. We've seen you a lot on Zoom and that.
Met
it's
online.
Good. Yeah, online. It's good to see you in person. And we asked again people to bring some interesting facts, and you said you like to hang out with your fiance, which is not only an interesting fact, but I think kind of an important thing. So is your fiance here today?
Yeah, she's there in the audience, filming me, supporting me. She's my rock. Yeah, so I'm actually autistic, so she's kind of just my whole world, pretty much.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, I have a restricted friend circle, but she puts up with me. So
that's great. Do you have a big date, or should I ask, or
a big date
for marriage, or?
Honestly,
sorry, we're this new. We don't have to put you on.
You know what? In the eyes of the law, we're married. We're common law, and that's good enough for us because we got some more important things than marriage right now. We don't want to spend the money. So if anyone's looking to sponsor a grad student's wedding, I'm here.
I like that. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's like more tense than the 3 minutes. It's like, well, marriage. What are you talking about? But you also said that you also have not semi-pro, but it sounds like that way. How did you say it? That you're an elite amateur athlete in hockey, Muay Thai, and running.
So athletics has been pretty central to my life, and before I came to school, I was actually on track to play professional hockey.
Okay.
And then due to mental health issues, I actually had to step back, which is what brought me to school here, because I was actually undiagnosed autistic at the time, so that's where all the mental health issues started. And then as I was studying psychology, I started doing Muay Thai, and I just loved to compete, so it kind of helped me learn to cope with my disabilities and succeed in school. And then I just kind of ran my course in Muay Thai. I reached the kind of like a top amateur level, and if I wanted to go further, I would have had to move, but I like Peterborough, I love Trent, so I didn't want to leave, and I started running, and now I'm running on the varsity cross-country team, and I actually became the head coach this year too, because the program was going to fold if no one did it, so.
That's awesome, Eric. Well, thank you, and I think you're a great example of like an all-round scholar, right? It's one thing to study, but to also have that athletic side to it and the focus, and especially what you're about talking today, kind of the mental health and emotional context to it all.
Yeah.
It's a whole package.
Without sports, I wouldn't be here, so it's, it's kind of my future career goal is to get into intervention design, kind of teaching self-regulation through sports and whatnot.
Well, I think on behalf of everyone, we wish you well, and let's put your hands together again. Thank you. Thank you so much, Eric.
No problem. Thank you.
Well, the next person, I should say, needs no introduction because she has frequently been part of Trail College and Trent University competitions, but we will introduce Naomi Kamalas in Environmental and Life Sciences. And today, Naomi will be talking about new technologies for detection of amino acids linked to diseases. Naomi.
Hi everyone. My research aims to understand how to use a novel method to detect amino acids related to brain-damaging conditions like dementia and Alzheimer's disease. According to the Canadian Community Health Survey, an estimated 3.6 million Canadians are living in the community with at least one brain-damaging condition. In individuals with these conditions, there is an imbalance of amino acids, a component of proteins in our body. One specific amino acid that is linked to these brain-damaging conditions is nitrotyrosine. The rationale for my project is that current diagnostic methods are tedious, involve expensive instruments, and are time-consuming. My rationale for this project is that these methods are not suitable. My project focuses on one type of nanomaterials, specifically carbon dots, as an alternative to these drawbacks in detecting nitrotyrosine. These carbon dots have a wide range of applications and are valuable sensing materials. Carbon dots are tiny particles measuring less than 10 nanometers in size. They are easy to synthesize, exhibit low toxicity, are water-soluble, and allow for testing of the visual spectrum. These properties make them suitable for use in sensing applications targeting nitrotyrosine, an amino acid. These carbon dots can be compared to bright and shining stars on a dark night. These carbon dots are tiny, just like stars, and are light-emitting in their environment. My research aims to answer the question whether we can use carbon dots to detect amino acids related to brain-damaging diseases. My research involves testing the properties of carbon dots using gradation of brightness, which responds to nitrotyrosine. My results show that in the presence of nitrotyrosine, these carbon dots have a decrease in their brightness, just like stars on a sunny day. These carbon dots are sensitive, and they allow for the decrease in brightness, which is responsive to nitrotyrosine. This decrease in their signal can be easily measured, and it was found that these carbon dots had a 55% decrease in their signal. This result can be applied to using dementia patients, testing them in a non-invasive way. The use of carbon dots promises simple and sensitive procedures. In the long run, this research has the potential for early detection of dementia, leading to early intervention strategies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Naomi. Now, while we're waiting for the judges to tally up, I just have a couple things to say. Now, in your fun facts, you said you like to play piano and paint. Not at the same time, though.
No, not at the same time.
And you know that with Sid here, we have someone who's a chorister, an organist, and that. So, do you have a favorite type of music that you like to play on the piano, or?
Yes, I play classical music, so anything Beethoven or Mozart. So I'm in the Royal Conservatory of Music, and I'm currently doing my grade 10. Trying to finish that up and do my teacher's college in music. But yeah, that's where I'm at, and I love teaching kids piano as well. I'm currently a piano teacher at one of the companies here. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's so wonderful, and there's a lot of research on neuroplasticity and music and the importance of music. So I guess that kind of all fits into with your research too.
Yes, it's important to exercise your brain, so keep yourselves active. Yeah.
That's great. Well, I think the judges have written up. Thank you so much. Let's put your hands together for Naomi. Thanks again. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Tristan Backlund up in Environmental and Life Sciences. And today, Tristan will be talking to us about fungus and the bat, temporal analysis of host genetics in response to an invasive pathogen. Tristan.
As the COVID-19 pandemic continues, we've seen a wide range of responses among our communities. Some individuals became infected and developed symptoms, some developed no symptoms, and some of us remained uninfected throughout. Bats in North America eat primarily insects and act as a natural pest control for both agriculture and forestry. However, these animals have been experiencing a similar pandemic. In 2006, white nose syndrome was introduced into North America, which is an invasive pathogen or disease aptly named for the white growth that occurs on the bodies of bats. Over 6 million deaths across several species of bats are associated with the disease. However, several species of bats remained completely unaffected. This differential response to white nose syndrome is strongly influenced by changes in the immune system, which are determined by the bat's DNA. In this context, bats with an immune system which increase resistance or tolerance to white nose survive and pass on this advantage to their offspring, where other bats succumb to the fungal infection. Some of these bat populations are now recovering from the disease, but it remains unknown how the disease has shaped and changed both the DNA and the immune systems of these species, and how this may affect them as they continue to recover. I'm studying two bat species, the eastern small-footed bat, which is thought to be resistant to white nose, and the little brown bat, which is extremely vulnerable and experienced drastic population declines. By investigating the DNA of the immune system of both of these species, sampled before and after the introduction of white nose, we can directly measure changes in the DNA that's associated with survival of these bats when exposed to the disease. What I found so far is that when we look at specific regions of DNA, we observe several large changes that's directly associated with the immune system's ability to mount an immune response against fungal pathogens. These are the same types of pathogens and disease as white nose. This suggests that the bat's immune system has adapted to increase their ability to prevent and fight off infection from white nose. This research increases our understanding of how this disease has affected the bat's DNA over time, as well as how their immune system is directly combating this deadly pathogen. These data are therefore directly applicable to both conservation and management of these recovering bat species, as well as managing and controlling the disease as it continues to spread westward across North America. Overall, when it comes to the fungus in the bat, bats trying to survive are no longer just winging it. Thank you.
Nice work, Tristan. Good job. I was looking through what you submitted to us, and that you like hiking, and there are a lot of people here like hiking. So I think after this session, everybody who likes hiking should get together and start a new club.
I mean, we're all at Trent for a reason,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. I think that it attracts a certain type of people. But what really struck me as interesting is, and hiking's fun, you put, quote unquote, you know your way around the kitchen.
Yes, both eating and cooking.
Well, I was wondering that, because I know where the fridge is, but do you also cook a little on the side?
Yeah, so as you can all tell, I'm an avid fan of food, but I'm also pretty good at making food, which doesn't help the beginning part. So for example, last night I made a lovely pork chop with a butter, garlic, and chive compote with a nice balsamic salad with cherry tomatoes and mini bocconcini, paired with some sauteed asparagus with, again, garlic, pepper, some... Wow. It was a delicious time.
That is delicious. I'm looking at the bat picture, but I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm like, wow.
There were no leftovers.
You're a multifaceted person. Let me tell you about that. But that's great. So, is that your favorite dish? Is that your signature dish, or is there something that tops that?
Just food in general.
Just food in general.
Yeah, it's hard to pick a favorite when it's all so good.
When it's all so good. Well, let's talk about someone who is also good. Incredible presentation. Let's put our hands together. Thank you for Tristan. All right, we're now to our penultimate competitor of the day. So I'd like to invite up Megan Tababadan, who is in Environmental and Life Sciences. And Megan's presentation today will be, how do metals interact with brain protein? Megan.
Our brains are one of the essential organs required for life. And as kids, we are told to keep our brains healthy and active. Get enough sleep, eat your fruits and veggies, do a puzzle, and so on. And whether or not we actively decide to do these things as kids, we do them. We use our brains day to day. It controls our behavior, movement, language, everything. And although we begin to care for our brains at a very young age, brain diseases still occur. And the reason for this occurrence isn't very well known. Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or ALS, is a common brain disease that affects over 200,000 individuals worldwide. Yearly, there are approximately 1,000 Canadians diagnosed by the disease, and as the disease progresses, it leads to paralysis, meaning there is a loss in ability to move limbs. And this loss in ability to move limbs occurs due to a loss in communication between the muscles and the brain. And this is due to non-functioning neurons. The loss in function in neurons is due to the accumulation of unhealthy proteins. Specifically for the case of ALS, this protein is called TDP43. As the disease progresses, individuals lose the ability to walk, talk, eat, and eventually breathe. And treatment is very limited for these individuals. Current treatment aims to relieve symptoms, which includes providing medications to help with muscle stiffness, pain, and swallowing. However, there is no current treatment to cure the disease or slow progression of the disease. And this lack of therapeutic is due to a poor understanding of how the disease occurs. Therefore, it is of interest to study the TDP43 protein to gain insight in how it causes the disease. There's also been a link between a metal accumulation and ALS, and therefore it is possible that metals interact with TDP43. I am interested in studying this interaction to see if it causes a change to the protein, leading to the disease-causing variant. In my thesis, I aim to determine if biologically relevant metal ions, such as copper, zinc, and iron, interact with TDP43. And this interaction can be directly monitored using electrochemistry due to the nature of metals. From monitoring this interaction, we can gain insight in how TDP43 leads to the disease, and more importantly, can lead to a new potential therapy for ALS. Thank you.
Great job, Megan. Thank you. So just while the judges are writing up their scores right now, just in your bio, you said that you liked molecular things from a very early age and small things, including beads. Can you tell me more about this, how molecules and beads all kind of interconnect in your life?
Yeah, I think just looking at things from the building blocks and being able to create something and seeing how they all get to come together and to make something as beautiful as life, or I create art with my bead, with working with beads. So I think it's really nice to see how everything come together and create something beautiful.
That's wonderful. And you do this with your sister, the beadwork? And
Yes, I recently started a small business with my sister to sell our beadwork, which has been an interesting and fun endeavor.
that's awesome. Well, Google Megan's name, and you can find out how to get some wonderful beadwork from. But thank you so much. And again, what a wonderful pairing, people. Science, art, that's what university's all about. So let's put your hands together for Megan. And finally, I'd like to introduce Sasha Younger up, who's in environmental and life sciences. Today, Sasha will be talking about the nocturnal gliders, ultrasonic communication across gliding mammalia. Sasha.
If I asked you to pick out the North American flying squirrel, would you be able to? What if I told you that only 2 of these animals are flying squirrels at all? Gliding mammals are a fantastic example of convergent evolution, where distantly related animals have evolved to share very similar traits. In case you were wondering, that's the North American flying squirrel right up there at the top right. They're the focal species of my thesis, though they're not the only gliders that I'll be talking about today. Their closest relatives are the giant flying squirrels of Southeast Asia, and they're the largest gliding mammals, rivaled in size only by the colugos. Now, the colugos are actually the outgroup to primates, so they are way more closely related to all primates than either of the 2 squirrels I've introduced you to. Additionally, we have the feather-tailed glider, which is that little tiny guy, which is one of the smallest gliders that we know of, as well as the sugar glider, which is a common pet that you may have heard of before. The 2 of them represent a small part of the vast diversity of marsupial gliders, which inhabit much of Australia and the surrounding islands. Now, their cool body plans aren't the only thing that these gliders have in common. All gliding mammals that we know of are strictly nocturnal, which means that they only come out at night. This is interesting for a few reasons, but it stands out the most in the flying squirrels, as there are no other nocturnal squirrels. Tree squirrels, ground squirrels, marmots, chipmunks, they all come out during the day, except for flying squirrels. Additionally, these 5 specific species all communicate at significantly higher frequencies than their closest relatives. Frequencies that are so high, in fact, that we didn't know what most of these animals sounded like until the last decade, when we finally had the technology to listen to frequencies above our human hearing range. Now, this is where I come in. I'm terribly interested in why these animals are communicating at such high frequencies. And I can tell you that being nocturnal is playing a huge role in this. So first of all, imagine all of these gliders gliding in total darkness. Now, they're not the only mammalian flyers that you know of that do this. Bats are one of the most common groups that also use these high frequencies, and they use them to navigate and detect things in their dark environment. And it's possible that these gliders are also using these frequencies in order to navigate their environments. So for example, trees that are closer and larger would be easier to detect using these frequencies, whereas trees in the background or limbs may be harder to detect. Additionally, predators also may use high frequencies. And I'm running out of time, so thank you very much.
Great job, Sasha. Yeah,
Thank you.
That's good. Well, it's funny because there must be something about your name, because Sasha and Sasha the judge. What's your angle with fostering kittens? How many kittens have you fostered?
Okay, so I've fostered 9 kittens so far with my roommate over the last year. And on top of that, I'm actually really interested in animal rehabilitation with wild animals. So I've worked a lot with local groups, rehabilitating flying squirrels in particular, but of course lots of other animals from least bitterns to large turkeys, lots of things in there.
That's the large gamut of animals. That's
Yes.
great. And when you're not hanging out with animals and fostering them or rehabilitating them, you knit and maybe do tarot? Is that a mixture?
Oh.
I've never heard that mixture of knitting tarot.
Yes, I'm sure as many of you are familiar with, the pandemic brought out a lot of fun activities and interests. So tarot is something that I've been into recently, and for Christmas I knitted everyone that I know a hat or a scarf, or they all got something, because don't make a lot of money at grad school, so everyone can have knitted items from me.
And of course your family's watching this now, so they know what they're getting next year too, right?
Yes.
Right. Don't need the tarot cards to predict that. All right,
No.
well, let's put your hands together for Sasha. Thanks so much. Well, that's it. Those are our 8 competitors this year. It's super exciting. A very tough job is now left to our judges. So for our studio audience, I just want you to know we're going to have about a 20-minute intermission right now, and we'll be walking into the Banyanya room, which is where food and beverages will be available for people. We can have a little chat, talk more about the presentations. For the folks at home, it's not going to be that long until you'll be able to hear the score. So stay tuned, and we'll have the judges present the scores in the near future. Thank you. See you soon. Well, hello, now it's time for the presentation of the prizes. But before we present the prizes, I'd like to thank our auspicious panel of judges once again. Let's put your hands together for Sid Burrell, Sasha Shirk, and Glennis Burns. Oh yes, and thank you very much, Dr. Beckwith. We have swag. It's so great to see you guys. Thank you so much for taking time to be with us and just being part of the community. What Trail College is about, what Trent University is about, is a connection, a wider connection between education and the community. So it's so great that you guys are here and part of that connection. And now, I'd like to call up our auspicious prize presenters, many of whom are part of our auspicious prize judging panel. But first, I'd like to call up Sebastian Johnson-Lindsay, who is a PhD candidate in Canadian Studies and the past president of the Trent Graduate Students Association, and he'll be presenting the TGSA third place prize. Sebastian.
Over here. This microphone. This one. Thank you. Just take the mic out. There we go.
It's going well so far. Oh my goodness. So thank you everybody for being here. My name's Sebastian. I'm still the president for another couple weeks.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. It's okay. It's confusing. It's confusing to me as well. Congratulations to all of the presenters today. It is my pleasure to announce the Trent Graduate Students Association third place prize goes to Samal Iftikhar.
Thank you, Sebastian. And now I'd like to introduce Sasha Younger to present the Trail College the Trail College second place prize, pardon me, to our lucky winner. Thank you, Sasha.
Great. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today. It is my pleasure to award second place of the Catherine Parr Trail College Prize to Tristan Backlund.
Now the tension is building, folks. There's the big grand prize, and I'd like to invite Sid Burrell to come up to present the School of Graduate Studies first place prize and all expenses paid trip to Guelph, Ontario. Sid.
I had forgotten so many things about public speaking. I've done so much of it, and much of it was under duress. I had a very sick son, and I was desperate to find a cure for his relatively unknown disease. And you just got up and did it and forgot that you got over your speaking nerves and so on. So it is amazing for me to be here and see you with such passion, everyone. So what happened, as I'm going to present the winner and the name and so on, but what happened for me as I listened to this presentation was I forgot that I was a judge. I just thought, wow, this is, come on, tell me more about what's on that. I just got really excited. And, oh, you're a judge, pay attention, stop having fun, and so on. So your presentation was spectacular. I'm very pleased to announce that the winner of the Trent Graduate Student Association with expenses to Guelph is Sasha Younger. Congratulations. And this is important too, apparently. Great. So are you going to say something?
I just want to say thank you very much, and especially to my colleague Becca and Anne, because you guys have been so helpful with putting this together, and Kirsten, my roommate, for being here, and the rest of our lab. And it's been a really rough couple of days for me. I put my dog down yesterday morning, and I'm so happy that I could be here, and thank you so much for this. So thank you all.
Thank you so much, Sasha. And I think it's a wonderful reminder, too, that we're not all just studying here, right? We're living life, and everybody has a lot of things going on, and COVID's just one of them. And I'm just so grateful to be here and to be able to do this with you all. And so grateful people like Sasha and our judges and that are all here to be part of this and to shine. And to be human again, connecting, and that's what it's all about. So I want to thank everybody for being here. And about connections, I just have a few announcements before we wrap things up. For participants, for people at home, you're watching this, so this really isn't an announcement for you. But in about 2 weeks' time, after April 18th, we will be showing this video. This video will be going to air, so watch for it. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell everyone that you will be famous very soon. So coming up soon after April 18th. Also, if you happen to be in Guelph around May 4th, who isn't, you just happen to be there, you can go visit our winner, Sasha, at the finals. The finals will be in Guelph, Ontario for the provincial, so that's very exciting. The first time in 2 years that there actually has been a provincial. So great, thank you for representing us. This is great. And finally, from announcements point of view, the second annual Trail College End of Year May Ball will be happening soon. It will be another virtual production. It will be online, and it's our celebration of all things trail, both undergraduate and graduate, and that will be happening in May. So stay tuned for that. You'll hear more in my newsletters and in advertisements and things about that, about our second annual May Ball, which is quite exciting. And we're hoping next year for our third annual May Ball, it will actually be real. And you can kind of drink and have food and chat and listen to music and all the stuff you do in the virtual version, but in person. So stay tuned for that as well. At the very beginning of this, I talked about gratitude. And I was very thankful to be here at Trail. And I feel education, higher education, is about becoming a better person by learning. It's also about being part of a community, which we are today. And a big part of higher education, and especially the collegiate education, is about humility and gratitude. So I'm very grateful for everyone coming out here today, and particularly to the Academic Skills Center staff and my colleagues, including Dr. Sue Beckwith, who we couldn't do this without. Aaron Stewardes and Dana Capel, who have brought 3MT to Trent and have been stalwart 3MT producers and doing everything behind the scenes. So let's put your hands together for Dana and Aaron. Nachiket Jamkakar, who, there you are, thank you. I've just met you today and you are wonderful. I hope you won't be a stranger at Trail. Thank you for all your help. To the School of Graduate Studies for their wonderful prizes, to the TGSA, the Trent Graduate Student Association, wonderful students who uphold and make Trail a vibrant place, so thank you for them. To our Trail College staff, including Samantha Parrott, our college assistant, thank you for all their work. Our panel of auspicious judges, and particularly to Glennis Burns, who came in at the last minute, thank you very much, but also to Sasha and Sid. We couldn't do this without our contestants. Students are the lifeblood of any educational space. So to our contestants, let's have a big round of applause. I'm thankful for To Rob Vicardis and Paradigm Pictures, thank you so much for doing all the behind the scenes and the filming. We appreciate it, Rob. Let's put our hands together for Rob. He can add in other special effects like fireworks. And other things later, but the applause is good. It's real, folks. That's real applause. And a big special thanks to you watching, to our audience, to everyone here for being a part of our special day. Again, thanks for being a part of here at Trail College, part of Academic Skills 3MT. I wish you well. I wish you wellness. I wish you more certainty in uncertain times, and I hope to see you next year. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.